The rain is fine and slow. The lamps are trimmed with gold. A little silver smoke turns softly in the cold. The waiter sets my tray beside the window bright. Your silhouette goes by and lingers in the light. Smoke in the lamplight rises where no word can stay, makes common hours drift away. Smoke in the lamplight. The cobblestones below shine dark as velvet seams. A phonograph nearby leans gently through my dreams. The coffee sends its sigh. The saucer keeps its ring. The room grows warm and still, as if it heard you sing. No grand serenade was needed, no teardrop on display. One curl of smoke between us, and all my heart gave way. Smoke in the lamplight rises where no word can stay, makes common hours drift away. Smoke in the lamplight. The rain moves down the pane. The room falls into grace, and one last thread of smoke leaves warmth in your old place. The window kept the city warm. The curtain rose and fell. One yellow bar from out the hall lay on the floorboard still. You'd come in tired and half undressed, and fallen fast asleep One wrist across your forehead there, as if the day ran deep. The room was small as rented things are small in August heat. A picture chair, 2 traveling cases, and 1 soft pair of feet. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the floor to keep the draft, the light, the talk from reaching anymore. I made a little shore of cloth against the world outside, the towel under the door. Somebody laughed beyond the stairs. A tap kept dripping thin. A woman's heel went past our room. Then nothing else came in. You never stirred except to turn and find me in your sleep. Your hand came searching once for mine and settled there to keep. No vow was spoken in that heat. No moon made silver news. Only a plain white hotel towel and one thing I could do for love when it has had no ease and money's running poor. We'll make a kingdom out of less than most are looking for. So I rolled the bath towel tight and laid it to the seam, and all the hallway with its lamp stopped just outside our dream. The room stayed small, the bed stayed hard, the night stayed hot and sure. Still I have loved few things as much as the towel under the door. By morning it was only cloth beside a scuffed up frame, but all night long it held the dark and let us be the same. Twilight leans upon the frames. The lamp is shaded low. A phonograph begins its waltz in accents soft and slow. You draw my chair a little back and hold your hand to mine. The velvet hush about the room feels faithful and benign. The embers breathe beside the grate. The rain speaks on the pane, and all the little things we own grow still to hear the strain. When the needle caught, you hummed a turn the room forgot, and love went on where music stopped. When the needle caught, your slipper finds the older mark. The rug remembers where we lost one winter to the snow and found one spring in prayer. You smile and murmur, darling heart, so lightly with a sigh, as if the years were folded small and set somewhere nearby. The record slips, then hesitates. One note hangs in the air. A little starlight from the glass falls silver on your hair. No grand serenade filled the stair. No trumpet knew our name. But when the phonograph let go, you never missed the frame. You only sang the absent beat, so warm, so sure, so slight. And in that borrowed thread of tune, you kept the whole room right. When the needle caught, you hummed the turn the room forgot, and love went on where music stopped. When the needle caught, the record thins to whispered dust. The fire withdraws to rose. Still one soft measure lingers on, where only starlight knows. And long after the last note fades, and long after the rain has talked, my heart keeps time to that small hum from when the needle caught. The elephant house woke before the ticket gates were wide, with straw dust in the rafters high, and October kept inside. She came along the iron rail with apples in a pail. Her sleeves rolled back, her step so soft, it hardly touched the scale. The younger ones were restless there. They swung their trunks for more. Their chains rang once against the posts. Their shadows crossed the floor. But in the farthest corner stall, where morning entered late, the old one stood and waited still beside the wooden gate. Half an apple later, when the noise had passed, she saved the sweetest broken piece and gave the old one last. Half an apple later, no crowd, no call, no claim, only one hand remembering then brushed the rope aside. A school bell rang beyond the park, the city stretched outside. She split one apple with her thumb, where age had made it brown, then held it up with patient palm and never hurried down. The old one took it carefully, as if the world were thin. Her great gray head bent lower there and trusted what was in. No one was there to photograph, no child was there to see. Only straw and iron hooks and one small courtesy. Half an apple later, soft beneath the rind, was not enough to fill the day, but more than being kind. Half an apple later, the house grew still and wide, and all that morning seemed to lean toward what she set aside. Some faith is made of larger things, of vows and bells and art, but some is kept in pails at dawn and carried part by part. The world may feed the young and bright and praise the quick parade, yet love is often what remains when something small is saved. The gate swung open, footsteps came, the children filled the sun, and in the corner, chewing slow, the old one kept that one.
Twilight leaned on window glass. The room was warm and blue. A phonograph began to sigh, as if the day were through. The velvet chair was set aside, the lamp was turned down low. Your apron slept upon its hook, the fire had lost its glow. You crossed the rug in slippered grace. I stood where I had stood, and all at once the little room went tender as it could. The starlight on the rug lay pale beneath our turning feet, and made the quiet evening sweet. The starlight on the rug. You said, my darling, not too fast, so softly with a smile, as if the years had only passed to bring us here a while. The record gave a little sigh, the curtains barely stirred, and all the things we did not say were sweeter left unheard. The pane held one small silver thread, The mantle kept its gold. A reverie moved through the room, more dear for growing old. No serenade came through the street, no grand occasion shone. Only your hand within my own, when all the day was gone. And then I knew how love can live without a trumpet's art. In one slow waltz, one quiet room, and starlight near the heart. The starlight on the rock lay pale beneath our turning feet, and made the quiet evening sweet. The starlight on the rock. The record thinned, the lamp burned low, the room grew soft and still, yet one faint patch of silver stayed, as if it always will.
Below, the druggist draws the shade. The stair smells faint of snow. Upstairs, the little signal lamps begin their evening glow. The galoshes by the stove leave commas on the floor. 3 folded slips lie face side down beside the wicket door. You sit before the walnut board with chords in black and red, one sleeve turned back above the wrist, one pencil at the ledge. The county bells come thin and quick. You answer without haste, and fit one shining plug to one as neatly as to lace. I came to ask for Dexter 5, a simple call, no more. But heard you say, go on, she's there, and close the booth door. A mother from the Ridge Road line, a grocer by the square, someone whose voice kept breaking up because the snow was there. You held the circuit breathing soft while all the shops below went dark one after one along the street under the snow. The line stayed open, the line stayed open. Past the hour, the druggist turned his window shade, till every far-off halting word found the ear for which it stirred, and no one had to leave the night half made. line stayed open. The line stayed open. There are hands that carry parcels. There are hands that hem and mend. There are hands that keep a wire from breaking at the end. You never heard the whole of it. You never asked to know. Yet something in the way you waited taught the voices how to go. The line stayed open. The line stayed open. Long enough for one last yes and one more county name. And when at last you drew the cord, the room was only wood and board. But I had seen how kindness works without a sign or flame. The line stayed open. The line stayed open. You wound the fallen chords in loops, set both receivers down. The snow kept whitening at the curb. The clock hands crossed the town. I never placed my call that night. I stood until you rose. And all the way home every wire seemed humming through the snow.
The lobby plants had lost their shine. The brass had taken shade. And by the desk the register lay open where we stayed. You stood beneath the stairwell clock with ink along your thumb. The keys hung still in numbered rows, the elevator dumb. A salesman left his hat behind, a bridegroom asked for ice. The night clerk folded up the bills and counted every price. My train was marked for 9:30, my trunk already sent. But still my name beneath the date looked less like what it meant. You turned the blotter toward the lamp and let the wedding clear, as if a man could take more time by watching letters dry here. Keep the page open just a little while. Not enough to stop the train or change the marble aisle. Keep the page open. I watched your quiet hand and felt how far a leaving goes before it leaves the stand. The bellboy swept the doorway mat. Dry leaves came turning through. A couple crossed the lobby glass and vanished into blue. You checked the room keys one by one, then paused at mine and smiled. Not sadly, not enough to ask, but softer than a child. I signed my forwarding address in letters over neat. You sanded down the final line and brushed it from the sheet. The clerk reached once to close the book. You said, "Not yet, please wait." And all the hotel held its breath around that little date. There are departures made by wheels, by stairways, coats, and doors. There are departures made before a foot has crossed the floor. I did not say I hope my name might trouble you somehow. I only watched the open page and knew it knew me now. Keep the page open till the lobby lamps grow thin, till every guest has gone upstairs and night has settled in. Keep the page open, no ribbon, rose, or claim, only one line still drying there that happened to be my name. At last the book was closed away. The clock resumed its sound, and all night long inside my coat, that page kept turning round.
Twilight had left the station wall. The cobblestones were bright. A little bell gave one soft sigh and sent me through the night. The velvet held the empty car. The brass rail kept its blue. My silhouette on window glass looked like a man I knew. We passed the baker's darkened door, the florist's shuttered frame, and every lamp along the street seemed almost like your name. The light along the rails kept turning blue from square to square, and drew old evenings through the air. The light along the rails. One woman left with parcel string, one man with coat and cane. Their footsteps went on silver stone, then faded into rain. I did not mean to lift my eyes or let the past prevail, yet all at once my heart wrote back, with light along the rail. The window glass held one faint star, the wires gave back a sigh. A little hush of reverie moved softly riding by. No serenade came through the dark, no voice called out to me. Only the city washed and dim, becoming what would be. And then I knew how memory works, not grand and not in wails. It comes the way a midnight tram throws light along the rails. The light along the rails kept turning blue from square to square, and drew old evenings through the air. The light along the rails. The final corner took the car. The lamps grew thin and pale. Still one last line of tender blue ran softly by the rail. One bell let go the air. The rails receive the rain. A little wash of midnight blue moved down the window pane. A woman rose 2 stops before. Her gloves were pale as cream. The door sighed wide, then softly shut, as in a narrow dream. Her footsteps crossed the little platform, then thinned upon the stone. And all at once the empty car seemed larger and alone. Not lonely in some tragic way, but tender, frail, and true, as certain hours in cities are, when night looks back at you. Where the footsteps went, the heart went listen after them. Through rain, through rails, through midnight dim. Where the footsteps went, outside the cobblestones below, gave back a broken gleam. A barber pole without its turn, cut slowly through the steam. The tailor's window held dark suits, like men who would not stir. And every street the tram passed by seemed keeping watch for her. My hand moved once against the glass and left no mark to stay. The weather found the place at once and drew it all away. No grand ceremony, bright farewell was cast, only the hush that follows heals when something dear has passed. And I thought some things do not leave with thunder, flame, or tears. They only turn one quiet corner and live for years and years. Where the footsteps went, the heart went listening after them. Through rain, through rails, through midnight dim. Where the footsteps went, the final corner bent toward dawn. Though dawn was still afar, one pane received a little rain, one roof received one star. And long after the conductor passed, and long after the bell was spent, my heart kept hearing through the dark where the footsteps went.
The depot lamps came on at 6. The rails were black with shine, and every car along the shed held stillness in its line. You stood beside the workbench there, with grease upon your cuff. The punch cards clipped in little rows, the wire brush worn rough. A driver hung his cap and left, a cleaner swept the sand, and October through the open doors put cold into the hand. They brought the bells from car 16, from 12, from 23. You polished each with patient cloth till brass came up to see. But one small bell stayed dull and brown, set farther from the light. The bell from old McCall's front car, not rung since Tuesday night. Leave the trolley bell, leave it as it came. Some things should not shine too soon after losing name. Leave the trolley bell, no one had to know why one brass voice stayed quiet there, where all the others glowed. The foreman said the schedule changed. The south line needed 4. The clock above the token cage kept counting at the door. You wrapped the polished bells in cloth, then checked each painted tag. But when your fingers touched that one, they slowed around the rag. I watched you set it back again,
not hidden, not displayed. A little weather left on brass, a little sorrow stayed. No picture stood beside his name, no flowers marked the rail. Only that unbrightened bell kept silence in detail. There are men a city loses between a corner and a stop, between a fare dropped in a box and rain along the shop. The timetable moves forward, the cars go out the same, but one hand may refuse the shine that hurries past a name. Leave the trolley bell, let the dark brass keep what the evening almost took, and no one had to speak. Leave the trolley bell, not ribbon, not farewell, only the sound it did not make, still ringing where it fell. That 7 cars went rolling out, their windows bright and long, and on the bench that quiet bell remembered all its song.
The Sunday lamps burn low, the room is brushed with gold. A phonograph begins its little tale of old. You turn your cup once more, then let the spoon lie still. Outside, the cobblestones are dark beneath the rill. The velvet keeps its warmth, the pane receives the rain, and all the little sounds grow clear, for fear of giving pain. The glass between us keeps all the words at bay, and turns our silence into gray. The glass between us. A waiter clears one plate, your gloves rest by the brim. A pale silhouette goes by and makes the daylight dim. You say, my darling, once, so lightly with a sigh, as if the hour were made of smoke and might not quite comply. The coffee sends up steam, the windows blur the square. A little reverie moves softly through the air. No grand serenade was needed, no teardrop sought the light. You only touched the misted pane, then let it leave the sight. And something in that tender mark, though gone before it stayed, told more than all bright vows could tell of what the heart had made. The glass between us keeps all the words at bay, and turns our silence into gray. The glass between us, the old tune thins to air. The rain grows fine and far, still one dim glimmer on the pane receives a little star. And long after the cups grow cold and all the lamps must lose, my heart remains beside that glass with what it could not use. Twilight rested on the frames, the lamp rehearsed its gold, the phonograph with patient grace unfastened from the cold. You did not ask me for the dance, you only crossed the room and drew my chair a little back, as if to lift the gloom. The velvet curtains kept the rain, the grate kept back the blue, and every little thing we owned grew hushed to look at you. Then when your fingers touched my sleeve so lightly with a sigh, the years we never thought to name went quiet by and by. The evening learned your name from how you moved, not what you said. From lamplight on your silvered head, the evening learned your name. The teacups had gone pale with steam, the embers breathed in red. You smiled and said, my darling heart, the way you always said. No miracle had crossed the rug, no bright occasion shone, unless one counts the tender grace of never being alone. Outside the cobblestones were dim and silvered by the rain. Inside one little waltz began and made us
us young again. No grand serenade came down the stair, no trumpet split the air. But when your hand enclosed my own, I felt how love lives there. Not in the blaze that startles youth, nor vows that bloom and burn, but in the hush a whole room keeps for those who still return. The evening learned your name from how you moved, not what you said. From lamplight on your silvered head, the evening learned your name. The record thinned to whispered dust, the fire withdrew to rose. Still starlight lay across the rug in little afterglows. And long after the last note passed, and long after the rain grew tame, my heart kept moving through that room where evening learned your name.
Twilight leaned on window glass, the embers breathed below. A phonograph began a waltz in little turns and slow. The velvet chair was moved aside, the supper things were done. You crossed the rug in slippered grace when all the day had run. Your silhouette in lamplight gold came softly into mine, and all at once the humble room grew tender by design, where the rug remembered our little waltz from long ago, and taught the quiet room to know where the rug remembered. You said, my darling, not too fast, so lightly with a smile, as if the years had only passed to bring us here a while. The phonograph gave out a sigh, the curtains held the blue, and every step across the floor felt old and somehow new. One thread of starlight touched the pane, one ember turned to gold. A reverie moved through the room, more dear for growing old. No serenade came through the street, no silver trumpet shone, only your hand within my sleeve when all the day was gone.
And then I knew how love survives, not grand and not in flame, but in the way two faithful feet still answer to one name. Where the rug remembered our little waltz from long ago, and taught the quiet room to know. Where the rug remembered the record thin, the lamp burned low, the embers gave their hue. Still on the rug our last small turn looked young enough for two.
The pier lights shake along the boards, the ticket girls are gone, and in the booth behind the games the painted moon leans on. You stand beside the canvas screen with salt upon your sleeve, a tray of silver flashbulbs spent too warm yet to receive. The roller skates have quieted, the prizes hang half low. A paper horse on painted springs still rocks when no winds blow. The last young couple step inside with laughter almost shy. He drops his cap beneath the stool, she lifts her flowers high. You turn the crescent by one nail to catch them in its curve, as if a wooden moon could give the grace they both deserve. The painted moon, the painted moon, was only bored and borrowed blue above a canvas dune. The painted moon, yet when you said it right, two ordinary faces found a softer kind of light. You tell them not to move too soon, then count beneath your breath. The bulb goes white, the curtain jumps, the whole room startles left. He laughs and finds her gloved hand there, she smooths her little veil, and you slip out the paper strip before the colors pale. I wait outside with nothing lost, no picture left to claim, only the smell of salt and bulbs and how you say his name. You trim the edges with your shears, then place the portraits flat, and all the summer I had kept seems suddenly like that. Years will take the penny games, the booth, the pier, the shore, the paper moons that lovers used to stand beneath once more. But I remember how you turned that crescent with your hand, how something made for make-believe could tell the truth and stand. The painted moon, the painted moon, still hangs for me in August air, a little out of tune. The painted moon, not sky, not pearl, not flame, only the light you gave to them and never gave my name. The booth goes dark, the bulbs grow cool, the tide begins below, and on its nail the wooden moon keeps shining